Black Moss Press has been going for a zillion years, and we've published well over 500 books. What I decided to do was to choose 3 authors, all of whom had something to do with Windsor. So Dale Jacobs, he teaches in the English department at the University of Windsor. Gillian Cott was a former student of mine. She was in this editing and publishing class a few years ago. Peter Rostovic's Sidelines. Peter is a lawyer from Windsor, grew up here, and this is his second book with Black Moss Press. The importance of a course like this is that students are given an opportunity to develop new skills, the ability to discern what makes a good cover, the ability to find out how something can be marketed, the ability to edit and to find the right combination of words and to help shape a manuscript into something that can be published. So these are new skills that you can graduate with, and you can use them in the work world.
Sidelines is a book of poetry that I put together from a manuscript of poems I've been writing, and the students diligently edited. It's a book that I hope to share with a lot of people. I hope people read it, and I hope they enjoy it. I hope they challenge me. There was no better way for me to convey my work than through a published product like this, done by these students. But I'll never have an experience like I had with this experience with Marty's interns, because they were something else.
Sunday with the Tigers, it's a collection of 10 essays and 1 photo essay. We all went to 1 baseball game last May, and this is the writing the results from that. It's, from my perspective, is a lot more hands-on, probably a lot more involvement than when I've worked with other presses. I'd see the students virtually every day.
I edited and published a book. I had to do this, and then I went to France with Marty that year. And then 2 years later, I went to France by myself. That's how I met this guy who I fell in love with, went to Montreal, and then I wrote a book on it. I wanted to work with the students because then it's 10 eyes on your work and it's fresh eyes. People end up getting jaded when they've been in a profession too long a lot of the time. So I wanted to work with the students, especially because I had been one of the students once, so I understood the kind of ownership that they feel after the book is done. It's not just the author's work, it's their work too, because they have worked really hard.
Yeah, it was just kind of a lot of not knowing what you're doing when you're getting to it. It's like, yeah, we're going to publish a book, it's going to be fun. And it was just, you do everything, basically. Like, you're kind of given this manuscript, and you have to, like, edit it, you have to go over, like, just basically everything of it. You have to look at the title, you have to pick a title, which is most, like, frustrating task ever. You have to argue back and forth with, like, authors and publisher and, like, your fellow, like, editors. And you have to do like the business side of it. You have to like look at every aspect possible and kind of make what is finally this. It was really just a group effort. Like everyone kind of pitched in their ideas. Everyone said what they liked, what they didn't like. A few people, for example, I went last year to the book launch, and so we kind of saw what we liked of that and kind of wanted to either bring it together or change what we didn't like and kind of see what we could do that was new this time.
Yeah, it was great. I think it was just really fun doing some dance pieces, some poems, some like monologues based on these things, and finding a connection with all 3 of them was really, really fun. We took segments from each one. Marty had the honor of sending us the manuscript, and we all read through it probably like 10 hours in total, and just found, well, this one worked with this one, and it was fun. It was really fun, yeah. I think the biggest challenge is the fact that we have the writers who created the text watching it, and so the pressure is, how do we honor this yet add our own kind of flavor, and will they be happy at the end of it or not?
They did a great job. The drama students were really expressive. It was really nice to see all those words come to life in ways we hadn't expected, certainly when we were writing them.
It was interesting to see the translation of something that I thought mentally and I had never even said out loud to something that was performed.
I'm listening to my words being reshaped and reformed into a piece of theater, dance. It was an incredible experience. It kind of gives you those goosebumps that you don't expect to have, and again, it's one of those, as I say, a bucket list moment. I didn't expect ever to see anything like this with my work. I can tell you, those actors from this university of ours they humbled me in terms of what they did, and I sincerely say that because I had no expectation that this is what I was going to see tonight, and I was just in awe,
My biggest fear is failing to finish this,
leaving it wide open for someone to come and complete like it was their own.
What kind of crap is this? What kind of political machination allows someone to come in and claim ownership of a phrase? Some words, the syntax, and the message that goes with all of this.
If I am dead, will someone truly want to finish this? Will someone really care enough to say, hey, this guy meant something to me and I just want to share this with you?
I just want to write, to create a piece of art, something for the stage, or at the very least a coloring book. A simple coloring book that tells a story with characters that exist only in my head.
dream people who slip between the crack in the door or the keyhole and vanish into molecular heaven like some lab experiment gone wrong. Or a poem that remains unfinished.
Oh, say, can you see?
Hot dogs, get your hot dogs. Who wants an $8 National Hebrew hot dog? I got $11 hand-rolled sushi here. Who wants $11 hand-rolled sushi, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, how about a $14 24-ounce pretzel? Huh? You want the pretzel? What kind of pretzel do you want, huh? Any pretzel? All the pretzel. How about salted pretzel? It's up to you. How about pizza? Who wants a pizza? A nice pizza. A whole pizza, slice of pizza, up to you.
On this picture-perfect sun-washed Sunday afternoon, the Tigers are playing against the Texas Rangers, the team they lost a heartbreaking American League Championship Series to in 2011, blocking their way yet again from what should have been another trip to the World Series.
We arrived at the park early in time for batting practice under a clear blue Detroit sky. I catch glimpses of the green expanse of the outfield as Heidi and I make our way along the concourse, weaving in and out of the pregame crowd that is starting to gather. The smell of bratwurst wafts over me as I skirt the already long line for kids to have their faces painted like miniature tigers. Instead of moving to our familiar seats, I motion her to follow me to the railing just to the first base side of my plate, so we can see the tigers in the cage.
Steer right one!
Eating is a big part of the game. It's been that way for as long as baseball's been played. It's even mentioned in that 1908 Tin Pan Alley song, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And today, we dutifully rise in the 7th inning. Our mouths bellowing out, take me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd. Just buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back, da-da-da. Yes, we even sing for our food.
This is baseball. Cursing, singing,
Yes!
eating, spitting. The mouth, the focus of it all.
The only concrete image of that game that I can summon is Bo Jackson hitting a home run off Frank Tanana. A baseball memory as acute as any I have. In my mind, the park was packed to see the Tigers win, and Bo slammed that ball into the night sky. But the box score tells me that there were less than 13,000 people there that night. For me, though, that audience was electric, and I wanted to be a part of it again and again.
The kids play soccer now.
Says the park's official.
So we remove the hardware and fill it with grass.
He turns and walks away like a disgruntled manager, heading back to the dugout. Having made his point, I'm left lamenting my sore pitching arm, the slow eradication of my youth, and the dismantling of dream fields. Those sacred and hallowed grounds where steel-eyed youngsters with ratty gloves and well-worn spikes would live like the kings of summer, in a time where strike three was the absolute worst thing that can happen. Besides rain.
There are no rules in guerrilla warfare.
No room for fair play. Take no prisoners.
The paybacks are a bit out of the ordinary.
In the mind of a 5-year-old.
With a vacuum pump water gun that shoots 50 feet of ego-bruising fun.
No truces, no treaties,
No reparation, no negotiations. Only the waking blast of cold water.
Coupled with a sinister laugh.
Oh, chilling to the bone.
Howard, how do you feel about the book you're reading?
Do you plant potatoes?
Do you use a lawnmower?
Do you know whether to serve Pinot Noir or Chardonnay with dinner?
Did you learn how to drive?
Howard, how?
Do you know they love
swim.
And sleep.
And cook food in a tiled kitchen that breathes moisture and cool air.
My job is to cut the vegetables.
And to keep you company.
So I say,
Howard,
How?
do you like un gut, mademoiselle, you ask?
We.
Howard, how?
can you smile?
How about your father?
Love passionately.
Remember to mention silly things like new purses.
Or how much I've learned in a season.
And how?
Can you trust me to barbecue for 20 people?
You laugh at my obsession.
And prepare the cheese?
Right.
How?
Can you be so logical? Howard had brought me to the wine fair to learn about wine. And learn? I would. By tasting a wine from each region represented. This can be dangerous when you're unaccustomed to drinking wine, and full glasses are available for €2. Another complication was that everyone solely spoke French, and I had to ask for a sample. Challenge accepted, I thought, as I walked to each table saying something close to, "Je veux un goûter, s'il vous plaît?" With a smile, it was often returned by the men who had seemed so cold only 5 minutes before. As many of them had grown in vineyards, they were proud and loved to talk about their livelihood. And then, I saw it. In all honesty, it would be careless of me to assume that the wine would be served without cheese. In a corner, a booth was set up where samples of goat cheese could be tasted. I quickly made my way over. I have a one-track mind when it comes to cheese and wine, and I'd already begun to taste the wine. As I reached the far end of the gymnasium, goat cheese in sight, I looked up and saw pouty lips, thick eyelashes, and windblown hair. When he smiled, I noticed the dark scruff on his pale cheeks. He was one of the most handsome Frenchmen I had ever seen. And more than that, he was under the age of 30. It was the first time in 3 weeks I had seen a young man, and my cheeks, red from the wine, flushed even more. J'aime le fromage! It was probably the surest thing I'd ever said in French, and I mistakenly made it my pickup line.
I will blame a healthy fear of bears and a new story about a woman surviving an attack by feeding her arm inch by gnawing inch until the bear was stuffed, and you, fearless and inspired by wine, cheese, and desire, in this wild and untamed state, this forest green with growing ardor, wanting much and expecting more, left failing to undo my hamstring heart with passions in perfect timing.
And me, fumbling with clothes, fright and panic, juggling horrors so potent of circus bears and hapless clowns, and chance left dangling like a half-chewed arm, or an opportunity lost
in the woods.
On a waterfront, on a perfect afternoon, children eat ice cream, chase balloons, pets, and siblings. Families picnic, cyclists glide, and couples saunter past, hand in hand.
I will never love a person more than you, because you are more than just a soulmate, mother, sister, the air I continuously cry to. You know I will always return home to the way we live within a joke, to the way we get older, but always stay the same. When I held your hand at 12, it was my own skin I touched.
Almost unnoticed, the dedicated gather at a monument of remembrance to watch kilt-wearing cadets and resplendent soldiers march past decorated veterans, sitting guard, sentinels in wheelchairs. Drummers pulse and pipers lament, fill the sky and break the silence, intended for absent comrades.
Your hug held me, one of the few to understand, having heard the sound of my footsteps intimately in my heart. You kept your arms outstretched to hold me. The same way you love a piano, we are living hard. You kept your arms outstretched to hold me. The same way you love a piano, we are living proof that the smallest statues hold the biggest hearts.
Prayers are offered, speech is shared, and wreaths gently placed with pride in this space meant for peace.
Your laughter holds nothing back. Unreserved and free, your boldness. Lavender blue, wild hearts acknowledge silence and stillness. Staring at French stars that we long to be seen the way we see life. I'd gladly lose a lover if I could find a soulmate like you.
Calmly, the congregation begin their exit. Some remain behind to bend and touch the base of this pristine plinth, gritty stones packed in concrete and sorrow, unearthed from a foreign beach without children, ice cream, or lovers, placed on this site in their bloodless state, far from the carnage and the horror, washed clean by incessant tides.
The soul of Montreal, laughter turned to tears, is the definition of our friendship. Giving yourself until you have nothing left has only made you shine brighter. But it could just be your smile permanently stuck on your freckled face.
Stones placed here with deep and abiding reverence, a sober and gentle reminder that pain is a fossil of the heart, left for others to discover.
I am thinking about supper while sitting at my desk in my office several kilometers from my kitchen, wondering how I am going to get a frozen chicken to remove itself from my freezer, thaw itself out, and get itself dressed for dinner for 5 at 7. Send out a quick fax or an email and hope that it will comply with this simple request without much fanfare, hoopla, or protocol. So I concentrate. Recall that I once read a book on telepathy for a grade school science fair project on ESP. Reach into the freezer in a trance-like state and retrieve the frozen pizza. All the while planning next dinner's coupe. Sans grace.
The pain causes me to inadvertently scowl at my server, Leia, who drops a menu onto my lap, offering everything from an $8 Hebrew National hot dog to $11 hand-rolled sushi to a $14 24-ounce pretzel. My section is fenced off by an iron railing, separating us from those who are forced to actually leave their seats for such items. Barricaded in with me, and also sitting on vinyl cushioned seats, with a table in between, are an old man chewing but not smoking a long cigar, a red-headed mother smearing sunscreen on the chubby arms of her sleeveless child, and a pair of 6-year-old blonde twins in pink tiger hats screeching, "Let's go, Tigers!" while slamming the iron railing with the bottom of their empty plastic Pepsi cups.
Today at this hot afternoon game, I gazed all around me, and the mouths clearly weren't happy. I easily lip-read the curses. I decrypted the pessimism and blame in the grimacing mouths. Still, the eating didn't cease. Neither did the drinking. Something definitely was not happening in that game. Now the mouths were calling it quits. Yes, it was time to leave. My father-in-law, who hailed from Texas and once played alongside Hall of Famer brothers Jay Busy Bean and Paul Daffy Bean in the Texas League Series, remarked, "There's no point standing on a sinking ship." True enough, we made our exit. We felt guilty. Then again, it was my wife's birthday. Time for chocolate cake and a beer. We'd stopped talking.
Women who sun themselves, lay exposed to the elements like
pagan sacrifices, self-consciously checking their tops as if they misplaced parts in their hotel room.
Or at the buffet, pulling at bikini bottoms in constant self-assessment.
Ensuring the most amount of coverage.
But not at the expense of this year's pan.
I found the arms and lips of other men and admitted my mistakes to the person I claimed to love, but remade them. I felt worse than numbness when he touched me. His hand on my body hurt, like my heart was trying to protect my skin, but could never really help. I found myself hoping that perhaps this time he would affectionately kiss me, and we'd call it making love. It had been over a year since I felt those butterflies. I was still waiting to hear the words,
"I love you,"
from the lips of a man who refused to kiss me, yet called himself my boyfriend.
I can only imagine you at this hour.
Staring at sunsets, light streaked across skyscrapers.
While I consider the three of you sitting at a table with some wine, fruit, and cheese, and stories to share.
I am like the clouds, reflecting the sun, straining to make you look more beautiful. Reflecting oranges in my edges, breathing to make you glow.
While I consider the quiet lake shimmering silver ripples like carefully arranged photographs.
I can make the sky look blue, but you invented each shade. The sun hits soft skin and a smile arises because you're warm
must only exist for a single person. The rays of the sun, your arms.
I wonder how you are.
I just ran.
Every time you see a professional baseball game live, you will see something you have never seen before. I've seen an opposite field grand slam by a rookie who didn't end up sticking with the club. I've seen a pitcher strike out 18 men in a single game. Ramon Martinez, Dodgers versus Braves, Dodger Stadium, 1991. Sometimes what you see is amazing, sometimes commonplace. At the previous game I attended this year, I saw a batter fall down while attempting to run to first. But I have yet to see a no-hitter. I've never seen 3 home runs, or a 4x1 player, or a player hitting for the cycle, or a walk-off home run. The anticipation is sharp at the outset, wondering what new sight will occur.
First time I took my dog to a game when she was 8, we saw a pitcher fight. It was at Dodger Stadium, an interleague game between the Dodgers and the Angels. Shanho Park, the Dodger starter, came to the plate in 3rd or 4th with a man on first, and he bunted. Tim Belcher, the Angels starter and former Dodger, fielded the bunt near the first baseline and tagged him out. Shanho felt the tag was applied with a little too much vigor, and instead of going directly to the dugout, he lingered to comment. Mr. Belcher turned and said something in reference to Mr. Park's Korean heritage and got scissor-kicked for his trouble. Then they were on the ground, the bench was emptied, and so on and so forth. My wife asked my daughter afterwards, "What did your dad say when that happened?" I think I said, "Oh my goodness," or something, I replied. My daughter said, "No, Dad, you said, holy shit!" Later that day, I told my daughter she could go to a game every day for the rest of her life and never see a pitcher fight again.
Comerica Park is very nice. Before the game, I walk around looking at the perspective from various sections. Stopping at Greenberg's statue, I have a friend take a photo of me to show my father, who is housebound now and watches all of the games on television. Around the circle are various food courts, paraphernalia hawkers, along with a machine that measures the speed of your fastball, areas designated for photo ops, even a carousel. It's a far cry from Tigers Stadium, which sold hot dogs, beer, popcorn, and pop. Not every imaginable form of sugared food on a Coney Island-like setting. What I truly appreciate about the designers at Comerica is that they kept all of the frippery inside and left the field to show us baseball. They have a scoreboard the size of a square city block with some high-def videos and other bells and whistles, but mostly what there is to see on the field is the game. At some stadiums, there's so much to see from your seat that the game is almost an afterthought.
Someone once said that hearing that a friend is dying is like being hit on the head with a 2x4. Except there isn't anyone on the face of creation that I know, including that someone who has survived such a trauma. The exaggeration is without apology. Everybody knows that it is meant only to convey a feeling. This dark sarcasm, this numbing news that causes heads to shake. The same one's meant for the 2x4. And you ask that the news be repeated slowly, because you can't believe your ears, even though there is no reason to doubt your hearing. You feel flushed, feverish, and discomforted, searching your mind for rational thoughts and the nearest bathroom to heave in. Your stomach turns, the room spins, and colors become indiscriminate. You have a "how could this be" moment. Denial becomes the favorite part of the game. Guilt becomes an unwelcome partner. We should have spent more time together. We could have.
Should have done lunch.
Or dinner. And why didn't we this?
And why is it that we didn't
Do that, and where the hell are the
Pictures from then and when?
And why?
Why?
And why? And now how preoccupied we are.
Was the shoebox
Filled with
Pictures that should have.
found themselves?
an envelope.
With a note, with words.
The right words.
Metaphors carefully chosen.
And joy, and now,
Words
Carefully chosen.
and crafted with,
utmost regret.
and bitter, agony.
The poets gather in the chapel, the most atypical of congregations. They take to the pews like survivors in rowboats, sitting their soft asses on hard benches, surveying the others, taking deep breaths and thinking,
It's not my turn.
A church view is purgatory defined, an inhospitable place made all the worse by hemorrhoids, or a bad back, or old age. And in the midst of their seemingly endless discomfort, they sit and listen to the predictably pious crap about the dearly departed. They listen, even though they secretly wish to rise up and shout out loud, "It's inevitable!" We all sit back and muse. We know what he would have wanted for us to sing and dance and drink. And what would he say?
I'm not really dead. I live in my poems and in my stories and in the toasts you'll make when you get to the damn bar.
The rest of the story is left for the criticism of lesser mortals, who wait for their turn in wooden pews and query,
Are caskets made from these same hardwoods?
You can add professional baseball to the list of things I don't love that everyone is supposed to love, like carnivals, and Facebook, and George Clooney, and Disney cruises, and meat. You probably think I was picked last in gym class.
You probably think I don't appreciate the spirit and value of competition, but I'm not a complete stranger to killer instinct.
You probably think I'm afraid of balls. You probably think I'm afraid of a badminton birdie being loved by an 8-year-old.
You probably think that one time I picked Canadian poet John Paul Fiorentino from his hotel, and he saw the batting glove stuck in the cup holder, yes, baseball batting gloves. He looked at me and thought maybe I was going to be far more interesting than he thought I was going to be, until I told him I wore the gloves to make sure the UV rays didn't burn the vitiligo patches from my hands.
That's what you probably think.
To my cotton knit sweater, collar, makeup stained, worn on Montreal's coldest days, where I wore 2 pairs of pants with double knit socks and still shivered. Dragged out of bed, my bodily needs stronger than the desire to disappear, than the sadness at the idea of waking up again wrapped in your blue and white, keeping more than my arms warm this winter. To my sorrel boots, you signify everything I didn't want to live through. Did not even warm my toes in negative 40-degree weather, trudging through snow mounds, giant puddles. Though I hate you, I know that I need you for blustery days, tobogganing, skiing, shoveling snow from driveways and 3rd-story staircases. To my books, you were once useful. Now you're just weight having been carried from one house to the next, like a child with no home. You share that with me. You deserve your pages turned, words eaten up like a steak supper. That is to say, devoured. To my pen-lined drawings and decorative plates, never worry. I am too much of a pack rat to part with you. You will one day find a home on strong walls built to hold up beauty, like arms trying to keep me upright, to show me how beautiful it is to just stand up and smile. To my bed, where I spent nights intertwined with his body, nights spent sleepless, arms around feather pillows. I thought that if I filled myself with missing him, the feeling of emptiness that he left on the right side of my mattress would disappear, and his smile would wake me in the morning. Instead, I replaced his spot with others, roommates turned lovers, best friends with big smiles and small muscles. The lives led between your sheets are too heavy a load to carry, though you've kept me from falling on hard ground. A bed is just a place for memories to fester. And I've realized, after months hidden beneath blankets, the biggest dreams that lift me up exist outside your sheets. So I'll leave you here, your soft arms catching the next girl when she falls.
Going into today's game, I realized that 2 months into the season, I still hadn't seen my lucky scorecard man. Every game I looked for him in one of the 3 or 4 kiosks where he usually stands. If I didn't find him today, I'd have to move on. Instead of watching batting practice, I decided I would give it one more attempt. Maybe I hadn't been thorough in my searching. I started at the Woodward Avenue entrance, walking clockwise, passing photo tributes to Tiger history, dodging bewildered fans and mewling children, smiling at vendors hawking ice-cold beer. I moved through the crowd with purpose, a ragged dollar bill in my pocket. As I walked, I thought about my scorecard man. Did he retire? Was he sick? Did he pass away? He wasn't flashy or gregarious. He wasn't the kind of man whose passing would make the news. But he seemed like a kind and quiet man who would be deeply missed by those who loved him. I imagined a family, sleepless with worry over his sickness or maybe grieving his loss. I didn't know his name and didn't know who I could ask. Even if I did ask someone, I didn't know how to explain why I was looking for my lucky scorecard man. I choked up a little. And to stop the tears, I began to think about who'd I buy my card from today and for the rest of the season. The awkward vendor who seems like he needs a hug. The one who says, "Get your Tigers, line up here," in a vintage baseball announcer voice. The one who calls me pretty lady and gives me a wink when he takes my dollar. It was when I started to wonder if I should discontinue the ritual that I heard it. A grizzled, declarative, scorecard programs! And there he was. If this were a Hollywood baseball story, I described the instant reconnect between us, the sense that he not only recognized me as much as I missed him. If this were a traditional baseball story, I'd know his name and how many kids he had. He'd know my name and that I sit on the first base side. We talk about the season, exchange witty baseball banter, and then tip our ball caps and carry on. But there was none of that. There never is. As with every other card I've bought for him, I pass him my dollar, he pushes me a card, and then slides the box of golf pencils towards me. Our blue eyes meet for a single flash, and that is it. But that is all I need.
My blue-eyed grandfather played shortstop for the Golden Prairie Chinooks, a team in a prairie league on the edge of Cypress Hills in southern Saskatchewan. The more I knew about baseball, the more fitting it seems to me that he was a shortstop. Agile, whip-smart, observant, thoughtful, quick-witted, and not just a little impish. When he visited me and my husband Dale in North Carolina, we took him to see a Kingston Indians game on a steamy eastern Carolina summer night. At the time, I was not a baseball fan, merely the wife of one. Someone who didn't mind going to a game on a summer night, taking in the crowds and listening to the ballpark chatter around me, watching those, like Dale and my grandfather, watch the game with a discerning eye. That night in Kingston, I saw my grandfather recording the game with notations on a scorecard. Why one kept a scorecard when the score was clearly visible in the center field was a mystery to me. But I chalked it up to one more thing I didn't understand about the game. Nevertheless, I tucked that memory of scorecards away and retrieved it a few years ago when I began keeping score. The scoreboard, I've come to learn, only tells part of the story of any ball game. My grandfather listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, everyone listened. The only piece of unsolicited advice I ever received from him was that I, his only blue-eyed granddaughter, should marry a farmer. I've often wondered if I disappointed him in not following that advice, but I did the next best thing. I married the son of a farmer, and I married a baseball fan. I think both of these facts pleased him, and the fact that I, myself, have become a scorecard-keeping Detroit Tigers fan after his passing might have pleased him most of all.
Embrace all feelings and colors of life, like the wet autumn leaves stuck together, crushed under boots, but still bold.
At times, you just feel inexplicably alone, like the last leaf on the tree begging to fall, to feel more than just yourself, shaking against the wind.
My biggest fear is failing to finish this.
Leaving it wide open for someone to come and complete like it was their own.
What kind of crap is this? What kind of political machination allows someone to come in and claim ownership of a phrase, some words, the syntax,
And the message that goes with all of this.
If I am dead, will someone truly want to finish this? Will someone really care enough to say, "Hey, this guy meant something to me and I just want to share this with you"?
I just want to write, to create a piece of art, something for the stage, or at the very least a coloring book, a simple coloring book. One that tells a story with characters that exist only in my head.
Dream people who slip between the crack in the door or the keyhole and vanish into molecular heaven like some lab experiment gone wrong. Or a poem that remains unfinished.